Or would they see you as their next meal? Watch this unbelievable story and tell us what you think in the comments. The sun burned mercilessly over the rugged wilderness of Alberta's Jasper National Park as veteran ranger Noah Reyes trudged alone through the pine-laced backcountry. The air shimmered with heat, the ground cracked beneath his boots, and every breath felt like fire in his throat. Noah had been tracking reports of illegal snares for days, set by poachers who cared nothing for the wolves, elk, or bears that roamed these protected lands. His mission was clear: find and dismantle the traps before they claimed another life. But the forest, dense and silent, had become a test of endurance. His radio sputtered, then died. No signal. His canteen was dry. Still, Noah pressed forward, driven by duty. When he spotted a glint of metal, a trap tangled in undergrowth, his spirit surged, but it was too late. His legs buckled. Dehydration struck like a hammer. He collapsed beneath a towering spruce, consciousness slipping like water through his fingers. The world darkened, until something stirred. A low grunt, then heavy breathing. Noah forced his eyes open and froze. Surrounding him, barely feet away, were three massive black bears. One stood tall, sniffing the air. Another pawed the earth nearby. The largest, scarred and ancient, lowered its head and stared into his eyes. Noah couldn't move, couldn't speak. Were they going to maul him or protect him? In that moment between fear and fate, Noah realized this was no ordinary encounter. Something wild, sacred, and utterly beyond explanation had just begun. Noah drifted in and out of the haze, his body limp beneath the pine shadows, heat still clinging to his skin like a second layer. He expected the pain of claws, the crushing weight of jaws, but none came. Instead, the forest breathed, alive with silence, charged with tension. A coarse tongue rasped across his cheek. He jolted awake just enough to register the warm, earthy scent of fur. The largest black bear stood over him now, not with violence, but vigilance. Her thick coat bristled as she scanned the tree line, ears twitching. Another bear, younger, paced behind, releasing a low chuff as if anxious. And the third, smaller, with a silver streak down its back, curled beside Noah's collapsed body like a living shield. His thoughts swam in delirium, but one memory broke through like sunlight-piercing fog. Years ago, in this very forest, he had saved a bear cub ensnared in a poacher's trap. He'd carried it back to safety through a blizzard, earning a scar on his forearm and the silent gaze of a nearby mother who never attacked. He had never forgotten her eyes, and now, those same eyes stared into his again. Was it her? Could the wild truly remember kindness? The bears didn't move, they didn't growl, they simply stayed, guarding him like he was one of their own. In his vulnerable stillness, Noah Reyes, a man sworn to protect wildlife, was being protected in return. The balance had shifted, and the forest had chosen its side. As Noah slipped once more into unconsciousness, his body curled beside a tangle of roots. The memory returned, not as a dream, but as a vivid, living echo. Years ago, he'd stumbled upon a trap, just like the one that led him here. Inside it, a terrified bear cub, no bigger than a golden retriever, bleeding and crying out. Its mother lurked nearby, massive and furious, her growls low and warning. But Noah hadn't backed down. He'd spoken softly, his hands trembling as he clipped the wire. He freed the cub and backed away, slowly, respectfully. The mother never charged. She simply stared at him with those ancient, intelligent eyes, and vanished into the woods. Now, Noah's breath stuttered in his throat as those same eyes hovered above him. The scarred matriarch leaned down once more, close enough for him to feel the heat of her breath. Was it her? Could this be the very cub he'd saved, now grown? She chuffed gently, not a sound of threat, but recognition. Then, as the sun began to dip behind the pines, she lay beside him. The younger bear, perhaps her own offspring, settled near his feet. They weren't guarding territory. They were guarding him. Above, crows called out. In the distance, a coyote howled. But the bears didn't flinch. In that sacred silence, the wilderness itself seemed to hold its breath, as if nature remembered, as if the forest had not forgotten the man who once showed mercy. And now, mercy had come full circle. As dusk fell, shadows stretched long across the mossy floor of Jasper National Park. A cool wind rustled through the trees, whispering secrets only the wild could understand. Noah Reyes lay still, too weak to lift his head, his body barely clinging to consciousness. The black bears remained by his side, silent sentinels in the fading light. But the peace was fragile. A new sound slithered through the silence, chittering, rising, chaotic. Coyotes, dozens of them. Their eyes gleamed just beyond the tree line, watching, sensing weakness. Drawn by the scent of sweat, blood, and vulnerability. One stepped forward, ears flattened, teeth bared. Another followed. A chilling chorus of high-pitched yips echoed through the woods. Noah's heart beat faster, but his limbs still refused to move. Then, with a bone-shaking growl, the matriarch black bear rose to her full height. Her eyes blazed. Her voice thundered into the dusk. The younger bears flanked her, growling low, bodies poised for battle. The coyotes hesitated, then bolted into the dark, outmatched and outnumbered. Noah's eyes filled with tears. He had nothing left to give, no fight, no strength, no defense, and yet here he was, alive, because the bears, against all instinct, had chosen to defend him. Above him, the ancient bear huffed once more, then settled beside him again. She wasn't just guarding the forest anymore. She was guarding him. Whatever sacred thread bound them, it had held true. And tonight, the wilderness had roared back at death, and won. Back at the Jasper Ranger Station, the absence of Noah Reyes set off alarm bells. His last radio transmission had cut out hours ago, and now the sun dipped toward the horizon. Lead Ranger Clara Whitlock rallied a search team, eyes grim. "We head out now," she ordered. "Noah knows this land better than anyone. If he hasn't come back, something's wrong." Equipped with ATVs, tracking dogs, and emergency gear, the team plunged into the vast pine wilderness. Hours passed, the forest growing colder, shadows stretching long. Then, near a dried-up creek bed, one of the dogs barked sharply. Boot prints, faint, wavering. Beside them, massive paw prints, too large for a wolf. Clara's stomach dropped. Bears. They advanced cautiously, rifles slung low, not to shoot, but just in case. As they crested a rise, the sight that met them was surreal. There, beneath a spruce tree, lay Noah, unmoving but breathing, and surrounding him like guardians of the old world were 3 black bears. They didn't growl, they didn't charge, they simply looked on, calm, resolute. Clara froze. "No sudden moves," she whispered. The largest bear, the matriarch with the silver streak, rose slowly. For a breathless moment, their eyes locked. Then she stepped back, one heavy paw print at a time, clearing a path. The team rushed forward, cradling Noah onto a stretcher. Still unconscious, his lips moved. A whisper. "They protected me." As they carried him away, the bears stood silently at the tree line, watching their human leave. It wasn't just a rescue. It was a revelation. Noah sat wrapped in blankets at the ranger station, IV dripping slowly into his arm as he recounted the unthinkable. "They didn't hurt me. They protected me, he murmured. The other rangers listened in stunned silence, their skepticism gradually fading as he described every detail. The scarred matriarch, the silver-streaked younger bear, the low chuff that echoed with recognition. Clara, his team leader, said nothing but exchanged a quiet glance with the others. They'd seen the trail cam footage. They'd seen the bears stand down. Weeks passed. Noah recovered, but something inside him had changed. The forest didn't just call to him, it pulled. One crisp morning, he returned to the backcountry. Not to patrol, not to fight poachers, but to say thank you. He hiked to the same clearing beneath the ancient spruce tree where he had collapsed. Snow dusted the ground. The world was silent. And then, movement. The silver-streaked bear stepped from the trees, towering, majestic. Behind her, the scarred matriarch emerged, her breath misting in the cold air. Noah froze, not in fear, but in awe. The bear's eyes met his, and in that wordless exchange, he felt it again, that strange, sacred bond. She huffed, deep and low, and then turned back into the woods. No charge, no growl, just grace. A farewell, or maybe a thank you. Noah stood alone now, but not lonely. He understood what few ever would. When you protect the wild with your life, sometimes it protects you back. In the heart of the wilderness, Ranger Noah learned a lesson no training manual could ever teach: that nature remembers. When he collapsed from exhaustion, it wasn't fellow humans who found him first, but the very creatures he once saved. The black bears, apex predators by instinct, became unexpected guardians. Their silent protection proved that acts of kindness echo beyond the moment. In a world where we often fear what we don't understand, Noah's story reminds us that compassion transcends species. The forest may be wild, but it is not without memory or mercy. Sometimes the life you save becomes the one that saves you in return. So let this story be a call to action, to treat nature with respect, to protect what cannot speak for itself, and to believe in the quiet bonds that shape our world. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful, true wildlife tales.